What happens when someone questions everything about the state, authority, and justice? What happens when a philosopher dares to say that freedom is more important than any well-intentioned intervention? Robert Nozick, through his groundbreaking work Anarchy, State, and Utopia, challenges us to ask, do we really need a big state? Or could less government mean more freedom? In this video, we will uncover ideas that shock, overturn, and redefine how we see society. Are you ready to question everything you once believed? Let's dive in. Robert Nozick was one of the most important philosophers of the 20th century. A professor at Harvard University, he rose to fame when, at just 30 years old, he published Anarchy, State, and Utopia in 1974. His book was a direct response to John Rawls' theory of justice, where Rawls advocated redistributing wealth for the sake of social equality. Nozick placed individual freedom and property rights above everything else. In his work, Nozick defends the minimal state, a state limited only to protecting against violence, theft, and fraud, and nothing more. Any intervention beyond these basic duties, according to Nozick, is a violation of individual liberty. Anarchy, State, and Utopia is not just a political book. It's a philosophical challenge to anyone who believes that the state should fix inequalities. In this first part, we will dive deeper into Nozick's ideas, starting with how a state can naturally emerge from anarchy, not through violence, but through natural processes. Let's begin this fascinating journey into the most radical ideas of political philosophy. While complete anarchy might seem ideal to some, Robert Nozick disagrees. In Anarchy, State, and Utopia, he argues that even if we start from a condition of absolute freedom with no state, natural protection mechanisms would inevitably arise. Imagine a world without laws, where everyone defends their own rights. Inevitably, Nozick says, people would form protection agencies, something like private police forces. For reasons of safety and efficiency, these groups would begin to merge or absorb one another. The result? A dominant protective agency, something that, according to Nozick, closely resembles a minimal state, without ever being imposed by force. The big idea here is that the state does not need to be imposed from above. It can emerge organically through the free interactions of individuals seeking security. But here, critical questions arise. How can such a state remain minimal and not evolve into a tool of oppression? What protects the individual from excessive power, even when that power seems to arise naturally? In the next part of the video, we will explore Nozick's idea of justice in acquisition and transfer, a fundamental principle he believes is essential for preserving freedom. And then we'll ask, is what we call justice really the same for everyone? Or are hidden traps lurking behind our ideas of fairness? Stay with us. Nozick uses a powerful idea, the logic of the invisible hand. Without any central planning, through independent actions of individuals seeking to protect themselves, a form of organization gradually emerges, the minimal state. There is no need for a revolution or a constitutional convention, no group of wise men drafting laws. Simply, small individual acts of self-protection trigger a chain reaction that leads to the creation of protection agencies. And over time, these agencies merge into a monopoly of force that safeguards all who belong to it. The invisible hand of human choices builds, without central control, the most basic form of a state, a government that exists only to protect rights. According to Nozick, this minimal state is the only morally justified one. Any further expansion, for example, taxation to fund social services, violates individual liberty and property rights. But here a critical problem arises. Can a minimal state truly remain limited? Or does the system itself carry the seeds of excess and abuse of power? In the next part of the video, we will examine the crucial idea of justice in acquisition and transfer of property. Because, as we will see, for Nozick, justice is not just about outcomes, but about how we get there. And then we'll ask, how pure is the ownership we hold today? For Nozick, justice is not simply about whether everyone has equal resources or opportunities. Justice begins with how something was acquired and how it was transferred. According to the principle of just acquisition, if someone obtains something in an honest way, without violating anyone else's rights, then their ownership is completely just. Similarly, through the principle of just transfer, property can change hands freely through mutual agreement without deception. When acquisition and transfer are done justly, then the final result, no matter how unequal it may seem, is considered fair. Nozick rejects theories that judge a system only by the end-state distribution of wealth. If someone becomes rich without wronging anyone, then the outcome must be accepted, even if others remain poor. But here, an important question arises. How certain can we be that the wealth existing today was acquired justly? How easily can we trace a pure chain of ownership back through time? In the next part of the video, we will explore one of Nozick's most famous arguments, the Wilt Chamberlain example, a thought experiment that challenges everything we think we know about equality and redistribution. And then the crucial question will arise: is economic inequality truly unjust, or is it simply the price we pay for freedom? To show how easily freedom leads to an unequal distribution of goods, Nozick uses a famous example: Wilt Chamberlain, one of the greatest basketball players of his time. Imagine, Nozick says, a society where wealth is initially distributed perfectly equally and fairly. Then, people freely choose to pay a small fee out of their own pockets to watch Chamberlain play. After a few months, Chamberlain has accumulated a massive fortune, without harming anyone, without using force or deception. Everyone voluntarily gave him their money. However, the distribution of wealth is no longer equal. If we wanted to restore equality, we would have to violate people's freedom to spend their money as they wish. The dilemma is clear. Do we value freedom or equality more? For Nozick, we cannot have both in absolute terms. Individual freedom will always, sooner or later, lead to inequality. And here the great question arises: is social inequality evidence of injustice, or is it the natural result of human freedom? Through this example, Nozick forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, defending real freedom means accepting real inequality. Today, we journeyed through the radical ideas of Robert Nozick. We explored how freedom can naturally lead to inequality, why individual property rights are so crucial, and how a state can emerge organically from the free choices of individuals. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. It really helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments, do you believe that freedom should come before equality? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to continue this fascinating journey into the world of ideas, you can subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next parts. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.